Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 94, back to Nazarick 1 Avatar. I am updating tomorrow's chapter earlier as I will be busy tomorrow. Hearing my return back at Nazarick, all the guardians came to the throne room. It's good to have you back, my lord, Demiurge said respectfully, kneeling before me. My return is only temporary, Demiurge, I explained. I must return to the world where I currently reside. However, I bring good news. I've opened a permanent portal to that world. The guardians exchanged excited glances, intrigued by the idea of a permanent connection to another realm. This means we can explore new territories and gather valuable resources, Cositus exclaimed, his enthusiasm evident despite his usual staccato speech pattern. That's precisely why I returned to Nazarick, I affirmed, turning to Demiurge. I have a task for you. The world I currently reside in possesses unique artifacts known as sacred gear. I want you to collect these sacred gear and, if possible, replicate them within Nazarick. Though Demiurge was not a blacksmith or an artifact maker, his expertise in research made him well suited for the task. With the assistance of Nazarick's skilled craftsmen, we should be able to recreate the sacred gear and even Longinus. And Demiurge, I continued, hunting and harming humans is strictly forbidden unless the possessor of the sacred gear has a negative karma value. Rainare and Albedo will provide you with more detailed information about the world's magic system and factions. Demiurge nodded, understanding the importance of the task at hand. It will be done, my lord. You have my word. And don't get involved in anything that could potentially cause a war, I cautioned. As the guardians nodded in understanding, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. This new endeavor would open up a world of possibilities for Nazarick, and I was eager to see what discoveries lay ahead. With Demiurge at the helm, I was confident that our mission would be carried out with precision and efficiency. And with the knowledge and resources of Nazarick at our disposal, there was no limit to what we could achieve. As the meeting came to a close, I watched as the guardians dispersed to carry out their respective tasks. Klavarna tried her best to sleep, covering her eyes with her pillows and lying on her bed under a light blanket. She tried her best not to think about anything and allow her body to finally rest. Klavarna could not think of anything. Her head was filled with thoughts of the still living devil, Izzy, the report she had given to Lord Azazel, and the untimely death of Rainare, which she assumed. Klavarna was a tall and buxom woman with brown eyes and long, navy blue hair that obscured her right eye. Pick. The numerous running thoughts causing her to toss and turn in an effort to have at least a few hours of blissful slumber. Slumber was not coming any time soon. Klavarna's mind was filled with thoughts of the future, each sadder than the next. Klavarna had sent a message to Lord Azazel a couple of hours ago and hoped with all her might that his secretary was busy. Or that tomorrow she had a day off, or that the day after tomorrow she was celebrating some holiday, or that she had just a month-long vacation. Because if she wasn't, Lord Azazel would find out tomorrow morning. He might even have already found out that Klavarna hadn't been able to do his errand. Sure, Rainare was the leader, and was supposed to be the one punished the most, but she's dead, and Klavarna was the second in command, so it was her head now on the chopping block. And Klavarna, for all her desire and desperation to see only good in Lord Azazel, she was well aware that as a fallen angel that had participated in the Great War, Azazel's hands were dripping with blood. Never mind the fact that, as a leader of the very whimsical and prone to betrayal fallen angels, Azazel maintained his authority by strict discipline, rewarding the excellent and punishing the inept. The fallen were, in one way or another, creatures of sin. The essence of the fallen angels was that of creatures that had placed their desires over their creator's will, going against their parent and, quite literally, highest moral authority. Keeping in check those who had already once betrayed their leader, who had betrayed God, was only possible by combining rewards in equal measure with punishments. The leaders needed to demonstrate their authority even when it was not necessary, just so that the followers would not forget why exactly they followed one leader or another. Some of the fallen were, of course, capable of following certain rules, of respecting authority. Some of the fallen, like herself, were natural-born, fallen angels, not unlike humans or modern devils in their thinking. Their numbers, however, were minuscule compared to those who periodically needed to be reminded of exactly who guided them into the future. Lord Azazel certainly wouldn't be a leader on the support of only such a small group of fallen. In fact, more and more voices were beginning to be heard from different camps lately, that Azazel had become weak, losing his grip, becoming too immersed in his hobbies. In other words, Azazel would not be able to simply turn a blind eye to a failed mission. If I at least know who killed Rainare, I wouldn't be in this shit situation. At that depressing thought, Klavarna lay in her bed, unmoving, for a few more seconds before she opened her eyes, resigned to the fact that she would not fall asleep now. Slowly, staggering like a zombie, stuck on the border between sleep and waking up and already tired from her musings, Klavarna stood up from the bed. With a stagger and almost sleeping, she found her pair of slippers with her feet and then made her way out of her room, practically falling out into the hallway. That stupid bitch Rainare, even after her death she is giving me a workload. Tilde. An important news for you all, next world has been confirmed in my Patreon and it's Demon Slayer World. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 advanced chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 95, Klavarna Cross. Avatar. Klavarna's eyes protested as they were pierced by the bright hallway lights, causing her to wince before adjusting to the sharp glare. With her vision adjusted, she identified the source of the light, the kitchen, illuminated even at this late hour for some unknown reason. At least I'm not the only one unable to sleep due to worries about the future, Klavarna muttered to herself, shuffling along cautiously to avoid crashing into a door or the low ceiling of the building. I may not be a pipsqueak, but why do Japanese people have such low ceilings? I can't be the only one constantly hunching over. And with this heavy chest, I'll probably develop scoliosis before long, assuming I survive this whole ordeal with the fallens and demons. If I survive, that is, I'm still not very sure about that. As she approached the kitchen, Klavarna finally identified her fellow insomnia sufferer, Mittel. The diminutive fallen angel sat at the table, an open pack of cigarettes and an empty wine bottle in front of her. The ashtray, already half filled with cigarette butts and ashes, indicated that Mittel had been at this for hours, or was trying to speedrun lung and liver cancer. Donosi, Klavarna asked, noticing Mittel's slight jump from surprise and the shaking hand holding the cigarette. Sleeping, Mittel replied tersely, her shoulders relaxing slightly as she recognized Klavarna's approach. She then lit another cigarette, the previous one extinguished. I envy that, Klavarna remarked, settling down next to Mittel and pulling a cigarette from her pack. Normally, Mittel would have reacted with a scream, a threat, or perhaps even a spear of light, but right now, she was too preoccupied with her nerves to care. Klavarna, getting her comfortable, silently nodded at the lighter in Mittel's hands, Mittel lighting the cigarette alight without even looking. The two then just started drawing in the bit of smoke in silence, feeling their worries recede just a bit. For a moment there was only companionable silence, before Mittel, taking another sip from the bottle, suddenly held it out to Klavarna with quite a simple hint. Klavarna did not refuse the offer and took a sip, chuckling faintly inwardly. I suppose it's true what people say, trouble does bring people closer together. The silence settled back into place as each of the fallen was in their own thoughts, although it wasn't hard to predict what each of the girls was thinking. What are we going to do with Asia? Mittel's question pierced the quiet, breaking the tense atmosphere that had settled over them. Klavarna and Mittel exchanged glances, uncertainty clouding their expressions. The plan had been Rhaenyra's to lure Asia to Japan. But with Rhaenyra's disappearance, their carefully laid scheme lay in ruins, leaving them adrift without a clear path forward. Klavarna sighed, running a hand through her hair as she tried to gather her thoughts. I don't know, she admitted, her voice tinged with frustration. Rhaenyra's plan was to bring Asia here and steal her sacred gear, but now. Her words trailed off, the enormity of the situation weighing heavily on her shoulders. We are going to die, aren't we? Mittel asked lightly. Klavarna hesitated, her mind racing with grim possibilities. She knew Mittel's words held a chilling truth, one that she had been reluctant to acknowledge until now. Despite their best efforts, they were no closer to unraveling the mystery of Rhaenyra's disappearance or possible death, and the shadow of impending danger loomed over them like a specter. The realization hit Klavarna like a punch to the gut. They were being hunted, targeted by unknown adversaries who sought to eliminate them just as they had Rhaenyra. And as Rhaenyra's subordinates, they were next in line for the chopping block. Even after a week of searching for answers, they had come up empty-handed, their efforts thwarted at every turn. It was becoming increasingly clear that their enemies were playing a deadly game, one in which they held all the cards. Perhaps, at this point, faced with this life-or-death problem, Mittel and Klavarna had indeed become friends, if only for the short time they had to live. Yeah, most likely. Klavarna didn't try to lie, to back up Mittel's confidence, only nodding briefly before taking another puff of cigarette and a gulp of wine, before returning the bottle to Mittel, who took a deep gulp. I should have just stayed in heaven, Mittel sighed as she put the bottle down. Why did I ever decide that I need this stupid alcohol and cigarettes? Mittel was from a similar origin to Rhaenyra, originally being angels, and falling due to some sin. She had fallen not long after the three-sided war concluded, tempted by pleasures not made available to the ordinary angels in heaven. But unlike Rhaenyra, who couldn't remember the reason for her fall, if you were stupid enough to trust her words, who fell when God died, Mittel fell after Michael had taken control of the heaven system. Not very convincing, considering what you are doing right now. Klavarna smiled weakly at her attempt at a joke, causing Mittel to smile back just as sourly. I should have gotten a job in an office, there's always an opening there. Sure, it's not exciting when compared to doing missions, fighting and getting more wings, but is it worth it? Klavarna thought. Or maybe I should use Asia and steal her sacred gear, to become stronger. Tilde. An important news for you all, next world has been confirmed in my Patreon and it's Demon Slayer World. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 Advanced chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon, it would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the Multiverse, Chapter 96, Serafal Avatar. Sona. Sona Citri anxiously awaited her sister Serafal's arrival, her mind consumed with thoughts of her recent defeat at the hands of Alexander in a chess match. It wasn't just any defeat, it was a defeat that carried significant weight for Sona. She had made a promise to herself long ago, a promise that she would only marry someone who could defeat her in a game of chess. And now, with Alexander's victory, she couldn't ignore the implications. Sona knew she could choose to brush off the defeat, to pretend that it meant nothing. After all, Alexander likely had no knowledge of her personal vow regarding chess and marriage. But for Sona, integrity was paramount. She was the heiress of the Citri family, and she held herself to a higher standard. She couldn't bear the thought of betraying the promise she had made to herself, of compromising her own principles. If she couldn't even honor her own word, how could she expect anyone else to trust her? As she mulled over these thoughts, Serafal finally arrived, her bubbly demeanor a stark contrast to Sona's internal turmoil. Serafal had no idea of the weighty conversation that lay ahead, but Sona knew she couldn't delay any longer. Taking a deep breath, Sona prepared to broach the subject with her sister, knowing that this conversation could lead to potential death of Alexander if she isn't careful with her words. Sona-chan, did you miss your Oni-san? Serafal's cheerful voice cut through Sona's swelling thoughts, momentarily distracting her from the weight of her internal turmoil. Serafal was a beautiful girl, looking in her late teens with black hair, tied into twin tails and blue eyes. She also has a childlike body with large breasts, and she was wearing magical girl costume. Pig. Sona managed a small smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. Always, Oni-san, she replied, her voice tinged with warmth and affection. Serafal beamed, her eyes sparkling with delight. I missed you too, Sona-chan, she exclaimed, enveloping her sister in a tight hug. As Serafal released her, Sona took a step back, steeling herself for the conversation that lay ahead. She knew she couldn't delay any longer. She had to tell her sister about Alexander and the promise she had made to herself. Oni-san, I have something important to tell you, Sona began, her voice serious as she met Serafal's curious gaze. Serafal's expression shifted, her playful demeanor giving way to a more serious tone. What is it, Sona-chan? She asked, her voice filled with concern. Sona took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts before continuing. I recently had a chess match with someone, she started, choosing her words carefully. Serafal's eyebrows shot up in surprise. A chess match? That sounds exciting, she exclaimed, her curiosity piqued. And I lost the match, Sona finally confessed, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Serafal's eyes widened in surprise at Sona's admission, but she quickly masked her reaction with a reassuring smile. Say no more, Sona-chan, she said, her tone determined. Just give me his name and address, and you won't have to worry about him. Sona shook her head, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. That's not it, Oni-san, she replied softly, her gaze dropping to the floor. I think I can accept him as my partner. Serafal's surprise was evident as she processed Sona's unexpected revelation. She blinked, momentarily taken aback by the twist in the conversation. And I heard that he has a lover, Sona added, her voice barely above a whisper as she averted her gaze, unable to meet her sister's eyes. A heavy silence hung in the air. Serafal's expression softened as she observed Sona's conflicted emotions, her heart going out to her sister in that moment. Sona-chan, Serafal began gently, her voice soft and comforting as she reached out to place a reassuring hand on Sona's shoulder. I understand this must be difficult for you. Sona nodded, her gaze still fixed on the floor, unable to meet her sister's eyes. The turmoil within her was palpable, and Serafal could sense the depth of her sister's inner struggle. So just tell me this bastard's house. I need to talk with my brother-in-law, Serafal said. Sona's head snapped up, surprise flickering across her features at Serafal's unexpected declaration. She knew her sister's protective nature all too well. Oni-san, I appreciate your concern, but I don't think that's necessary, Sona replied, her voice tinged with hesitation. Serafal's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing with determination. Sona-chan, you know I won't stand idly by while someone makes you suffer, she insisted, her voice leaving no room for argument. Sona sighed, knowing that her sister's resolve was unshakable. His name is Alexander, she admitted reluctantly, knowing that there was no point in trying to dissuade Serafal once her mind was made up. Alexander, Serafal mused, a dangerous glint entering her eyes. Well then, tell me more about him. Tilde. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 Advanced chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the Multiverse, Chapter 97, NTR Bastard Avatar. As I sat on a bench in the park DXD world, I couldn't help but ponder the recent developments since my return from Nazareth. And by developments, I mean Sheltier's sudden penchant for showing up at my doorstep at the most inconvenient times, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and every moment in between. Now, don't get me wrong, Sheltier is a fine specimen of a vampire and I like her company, but her persistent presence in cosplay attire was starting to raise a few eyebrows. I mean, who wears a full-on cosplay outfit to a casual meal? I could practically hear Albero's internal monologue screaming, competition, thy name is Sheltier. Every time she caught sight of Sheltier's elaborate get-ups. Not that I minded the attention, but it was getting a tad bit ridiculous. As Sheltier flitted around in her cosplay glory, I couldn't help but wonder if she was trying to seduce me with her wardrobe choices. But then again, it's not every day you see a vampire rocking a maid outfit or a swimsuit like it's nobody's business. Is she trying to cosplay her way into my heart? I mused to myself, stifling a chuckle. Well, she certainly knows how to make an impression. And let's not forget the occasional sparks that flew between Sheltier and Albero whenever they crossed paths. It was like watching a battle of wills disguised as polite conversation, with Albero's trademark smirk and Sheltier's coy smiles adding fuel to the fire. Now, some might question why I haven't taken a more proactive approach with Sheltier. After all, why not just sweep her off her feet and whisk her away to the bedroom? Well, the answer is simple. Sheltier is like a Pandora's box of the sexual world. You see, delving into the depth of Sheltier's desires is akin to opening the fabled box, unsure of what delights or horrors await within. Sheltier's creator, Perencino, was renowned as one of the biggest perverts in Overlord. And let me tell you, Sheltier inherited every last bit of his eccentricities. Her flavor text alone could fill a small novel, with half of it dedicated to her myriad fetishes. Even Tabulus Maragdina, the setting maniac himself, couldn't hold a candle to what Perencino cooked up. Back in Overlord, I had the power to tweak her settings, but I decided against it. Call it arrogance or naivety, but I believed I could handle whatever Sheltier threw my way. Boy, was I wrong. After experiencing the, shall we say, unique charms of both Albero and Yuri, I realized that Sheltier was a whole different ballgame. She's like the final boss of fetishes, and I'm just a humble vampire god trying to survive the encounter with my dignity intact. Sure, one of these days I will make her mine, but for now, my balls need a well-deserved break from all the physical gymnastics. But mark my words, Sheltier, one day you'll be mine. Just not today. Today, I'm content to sit back, relax, and let my poor, overworked balls take a breather. As I indulged in my contemplations, lost in the intricacies of Sheltier's enigmatic allure, I suddenly sensed a disturbance in the air, a punch hurtling towards my left side with alarming speed. Instinct kicked in, and I dodged the attack with lightning reflexes, creating a safe distance between myself and my unexpected assailant. Turning to face my would-be attacker, I found myself staring into the eyes of a girl with a black eye, dressed in what could only be described as a magical girl's ensemble. Instantly recognizing her, my mind raced with a flurry of thoughts. This was Seraphol, one of the 4 great Satans and ruler of the Gremory clan. But despite my knowledge of her identity, I had to play it cool. After all, I hadn't officially met her yet, and my carefully crafted persona demanded that I maintain the facade of ignorance. Didn't you think it's rude to attack a person out of nowhere? I quipped, trying to keep my tone light despite the tension crackling in the air. Seraphol's eyes narrowed at my words, her expression a mix of indignation and simmering rage. How dare you steal Sona-chan from me, you NTR bastard? She exclaimed, her voice laced with accusation. Ah, so that's what this was about. It seems like Sona had told her family about her defeat in chess against me. Look, whoever you are, I began, trying to navigate the minefield of family drama without getting blown to smithereens. I assure you, there's nothing going on between Sona and me, for now. We're just friends, I promise. But Seraphol wasn't having any of it, her fists clenched and ready to rumble like a disgruntled brawler at a carnival. You may be able to fool Sona-chan, but you can't fool me, she shot back, her voice brimming with righteous fury. I know a love rival when I see one, and you, my friend, are the prime suspect. I also hear that you have a lover. Ah, shit. Tilde. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 advanced chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 98, chapter 98, spanking Seraphol over Taravata. I also hear that you have a lover. Ah, shit. In a split-second decision, I activated my time-stop spell, freezing time around us and giving me a moment to collect my thoughts. Sigh, I muttered to myself, glancing at the frozen Seraphol, who was caught mid-sentence. I wasn't expecting my time-stop spell will work on Seraphol. It seems that the time I spent on strengthening my chrono spells really paid off. Sona, do you really have to tell Seraphol about my lover? I murmured. You know, dear, you should have told Sona that you're single. That voice rang in my mind, with a hint of amusement. It seemed she was enjoying the family drama from the comfort of her metaphysical realm. If I told Sona I was single, it would be a lie, I replied silently, knowing that death could hear my thoughts. And you know how I feel about lying. And besides, I continued, if I pretended to be single, Sona would see right through it eventually. She's not one to be fooled easily. Now what should I do to make Seraphol calm and possibly find me attractive? It's simple, just kill her, I will talk to her, Death said. Not a good advice, Death. Then mind control her, Death suggested. That's even worse. Then I would be a mind-controlling NTR bastard, I replied, feeling a pang of discomfort at the thought. It seemed Death was just messing with me, giving advice she knew I wouldn't accept. Well played, Death, well played. Then just spank her on the ass till she obeys you, Death suggested. Now that's quite the advice. As Death's outrageous suggestion echoed in my mind, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of amusement and innovation. Spanking Seraphol's ass to assert dominance. It was certainly a wonderful approach, to say the least. Sure, there was a chance my current identity could be compromised. But in the grand scheme of things, did it really matter? I was already knee-deep in supernatural shit, so what harm could a little spanking do? And in astrology it is said that, to spank her ass is to touch a soul. So let me touch Seraphol's soul. With a devilish grin, I made up my mind. Screw it, I couldn't pass up this golden opportunity to spank the bubbly ass of hers. And besides, my current identity wasn't going to last forever anyway. Taking a deep breath, I froze time and approached Seraphol. But before I could lay a hand on her, I activated another spell. Bloodbind. Bloodbind is a powerful spell that binds the opponent using their own blood. It also has the secondary effect of causing the opponent to bleed if they try to escape. Quite the victorious spell, if I do say so myself. But if I wanted to spank Seraphol, I'd need to use such a high-level spell, otherwise she would escape quite easily. What is this? Why can't I move? Release me, you NTR bastard, Seraphol protested, her voice laced with frustration and indignation. I couldn't help but chuckle at her futile attempts to break free from the magical restraint. Now, stranger, I said with mock sympathy, struggling will only make it worse. With a swift motion, I delivered a playful spank to her ass, the sound reverberating through the park like a clap of thunder. Seraphol's eyes widened in surprise, her cheeks flushing a delightful shade of pink. Wah! Consider that a lesson in manners, dear stranger, I interrupted with a smirk, delivering another spank without missing a beat. This is for attacking me out of nowhere. Spank. And this is because I am thoroughly enjoying this. Spank. With each spank, I could feel the tension in the air dissipating, replaced by a sense of amusement and exhilaration. Now this is what I call punishment. I am Sona's sister, she declared, her cheeks now glowing like a pair of red bulbs. As Seraphol dropped the bombshell about being Sona's sister, I couldn't help but inwardly roll my eyes. Of course, I knew who she was, who didn't. But hey, why spoil the fun when I could play along and milk this unexpected twist for all it's worth? You're Sona's sister, I echoed, my voice dripping with forced astonishment. Inside, I was doing mental gymnastics to keep a straight face. Man, my acting skills were on point today. Seraphol nodded, her cheeks still glowing like a pair of traffic lights. Yes, so can you release me? Right away. As the bloodbind spell began to fade and Seraphol regained her freedom of movement, she shot me a glare that could freeze lava. But beneath the anger, I could see a hint of begrudging horniness, admiration, and something else in her eyes. With a wink and a grin, sorry about that spanking. Hearing that, Seraphol's blush intensified, spreading from the top of her ears to the tips of her cheeks. It was like watching a fireworks display in the middle of the day, unexpected, but undeniably entertaining. Her reaction was priceless, and I couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. It seemed my impromptu disciplinary action had struck a chord with the fiery Devil King, igniting a spark of something unexpected between us. But hey, who said supernatural encounters couldn't be a little spicy? As Seraphol hastily composed herself, I couldn't resist the urge to tease her further. Tilde. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 ad bonus chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 99, chapter 99, Spanking Master Avatar. Perhaps next time, I'll let you be the one in charge, I added with a playful smirk, relishing in the way her cheeks flushed an even deeper shade of crimson. Seraphol's response was a sputtered protest, her words stumbling over each other in a jumble of embarrassment and indignation. As Seraphol composed herself, she couldn't help but ask me a question. Who are you? She inquired, her voice tinged with curiosity. If you are Sona's sister, then she would have told you who I am, I replied with a hint of mischief in my tone. Seraphol raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by my response. She told me that you are an ordinary mage, new to the supernatural world. But you were able to put restrictions on me, so you are not an ordinary mage, she concluded, her eyes narrowing slightly as she studied me. Are you a god from a different faction? Seraphol's question caught me off guard, her words hanging in the air like a weighty secret waiting to be revealed. A god? Me? I echoed, unable to suppress a laugh at the absurdity of the notion. No, nothing quite so grandiose, I'm afraid. Technically, I'm but no need say that I'm vampire god, a lord of all bloodlines. Seraphol's brow furrowed in confusion, her curiosity piqued by my response. Then what do you? How to explain my true identity without giving away too much? After all, I had to maintain some semblance of mystery, didn't I? Well, let's just say I'm a freelance tourist, I replied cryptically. I'm a tourist more like a world tourist. But you aren't an ordinary mage, are you? Seraphol asked. I simply smiled in response, neither confirming nor denying her observation. After all, a magician never reveals their secrets, right? How did you restrict my movement? Seraphol asked. Hey, system, buy the cheapest movement restriction artifact available, I instructed. Ding. Minus 1000 karma points. Congratulations, you obtained Bonnet of Movement. With a theatrical flourish, I presented the Bonnet of Movement to Seraphol, watching as her eyes widened with curiosity and apprehension. Well, my dear Seraphol, I began, adopting my best dramatic tone, it seems I have a few tricks up my sleeve. Seraphol's expression was a mixture of intrigue and wariness as she eyed the artifact in my hand. I could practically see the wheels turning in her head as she tried to decipher its purpose. So, how does it work? She asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Seraphol. As Seraphol made her way to the underworld to attend to her duties as the Devil King, her mind was preoccupied with thoughts of her conversation with Alexander. However, amidst the flurry of responsibilities and plans swirling in her mind, one thought kept nagging at her, she had forgotten to ask him about his lover. Oh, I forgot to ask Alex Chen about his lover, she murmured to herself, a hint of regret in her voice. Her curiosity gnawed her, urging her to turn back and seek out Alexander once more, just to satisfy her own intrigue. However, amidst her musings, a different memory surfaced, one that sent a flush creeping up her cheeks. It was the memory of Alexander's firm hand landing on her rear, the sting of his touch leaving a lingering sensation that she couldn't shake. She discreetly shifted in her magical bell dress, feeling a twinge of discomfort as she recalled the embarrassing moment. Her cheeks warmed further as she couldn't help but touch her posterior, a lingering reminder of Alexander's unexpected punishment. That NTR bastard made this magic girl go through something that embarrassing. I have to. She trailed off, her cheeks flushing with color as scandalous thoughts about Alexander flooded her mind. Despite her position as the Devil King, Seraphol couldn't deny the allure of Alexander's mysterious charm. There was something undeniably captivating about him, something that stirred feelings within her that she couldn't quite explain. That bastard didn't even mention which faction he was from till the end. I think he's from the Greek pantheon, she mused, her thoughts drifting to his handsome and alluring aura. Sona-chan, you're fit for a wolf in sheep's clothing. You spanked Seraphol, one of the Devil King. 700 karma point acquired. Congratulations, you obtained the title, Spanking Master. Spanking Master, when spanking someone it will give pleasure instead of pain. You purchased an artifact from the shop for first time. 50 karma point acquired. Congratulations, you changed Seraphol relationship towards you from brother-in-law to 100 karma point acquired. Seraphol Leviathan, ultimate class devil. King. 100%. Description, currently curious about which faction you are from. Except here's Sona's finance. Going to take revenge for spanking her. Remark, aiming both little sister and big sister, my boy, Alex, you are making me proud. After looking at my system notifications, I asked Death. Hey Death with his question mark in relationship stats, this is my first time seeing this. Tilde. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 ad bonus chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 100, Asia Argento Avatar. Hey Death with his question mark in relationship stats, this is my first time seeing this. Ah, the question mark, Death mused, her voice echoing in my mind. It means Seraphol is curious about your affiliation and has feeling for you, but her feelings towards you are still in flux, undecided. Got it, I nodded to myself, understanding the cryptic symbol. Seems like she's warming up to you, Death added with a hint of amusement. Considering she's willing to accept your Sona's fiancé. Yeah, that caught me off guard, I admitted, but it's a relief to have her on board. Just be prepared for her to seek revenge for that spanking incident, Death warned. I winced at the reminder. I should have known she wouldn't let this slide. You've certainly piqued her interest, Death chuckled. Aiming for both little sister and big sister, you're quite the charmer, my dear. I couldn't help but grin at Death's approval. Thanks, Death, I will try to satisfy your kinks. As I made my way home, I stumbled upon a rather peculiar scene. In front of me lay a girl, her face planted firmly on the ground, inadvertently putting her white underwear on display for the world to see. It was a classic case of accidental embarrassment, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her plight. Without hesitation, I rushed to her aid, extending a helping hand to lift her back up. As she got to her feet, she began speaking in Italian, expressing her gratitude for my assistance. Grazie mille, she repeated, bowing her head repeatedly in a gesture of gratitude. I gently stopped her from bowing unnecessarily and responded in Italian, non c'è problema. I didn't mind helping out, it was the least I could do. Taking a moment to observe her, I couldn't help but notice the beauty of the young girl standing before me. Her long blonde hair cascaded down her back, framing her face like a golden halo. Her vibrant green eyes sparkled with innocence and curiosity, giving her an ethereal charm. She was dressed in a dark teal and an outfit with light blue accents, complete with a white veil adorned with similar hues. A brown satchel hung from her hip, presumably carrying her Bible, while her feet were clad in sturdy brown boots with black straps. A silver cross necklace adorned her neck, adding a touch of religious symbolism to her attire. Pick. I recognized her as Asia Argento, the holy priestess who had been abandoned by her parents and raised in the church. Despite her pure intentions and remarkable healing abilities, she had been cast out and labeled as a witch for daring to heal a devil. Now, she found herself relying on fallen angels for survival, a stark contrast to her once devout life. As realization dawned upon her, Asia's expression shifted from surprise to happiness. She took my hand gratefully, tears welling up in her eyes as she expressed her gratitude. You can understand me. I just arrived in this place and got lost. Can you help me find the church in this town? I need to go there. You want to go to the church? I asked. Yes, and I forgot to introduce myself earlier. My name is Asia Argento. I've just arrived from Italy. Thank you again for helping me, she replied, her voice trembling as she fidgeted nervously. I don't mind it, and my name is Alexander, but you can call me Alex. Nice to meet you, I said warmly. Do you live in this town, Alex San? She asked shyly. Yes, I have lived in this town with my family, and just like you, I'm also a migrant, I replied with a smile. She nodded, and a comfortable silence settled between us. She probably realized that I was the type of person who didn't speak unnecessarily. We walked at a casual pace until we reached a four-way road intersection. The traffic light was still red, but Asia didn't seem to know the common sense of waiting. I was about to lecture her about road safety when I spotted someone familiar approaching us on a bicycle. Alex, what are you doing here? It was none other than Izzy. From the looks of it, she was doing her duty as a devil. Izzy's sudden appearance caught me off guard, but I quickly regained my composure. Oh, just taking a stroll with a new friend, I replied casually, gesturing to Asia. Izzy raised an eyebrow, her eyes flicking between Asia and me with a knowing look. I see, she said with a smirk. I have no doubt that the pervert is having some weird fantasy. Hello, my name is Izzy Hayaudu, but you can call me Izzy. She said with a smirk. Well, don't let me interrupt. Carry on with your date. With a wave, Izzy cycled away, leaving Asia and me alone once again. Asia started to blush after hearing the word date. Is she your friend? Asia asked shyly. Yeah, I replied. As we continued on our way to the church, Asia began to chatter excitedly about her life in Italy and her journey to this town. Her innocence and enthusiasm were contagious to say the least. Before long, we reached the church, and I helped Asia up the steps to the entrance. She turned to me with a grateful smile, her eyes shining with appreciation. Thank you so much for helping me, Alex San, she said earnestly. I don't know what I would have done without you. It was my pleasure, Asia, I replied, returning her smile. If you ever need anything else, don't hesitate to ask. With a final wave, Asia disappeared into the church, leaving me standing alone on the steps. I opened my system. Asia Argento, innocent nun. Friends, 100%. Description, she consider you as a friend. Jesus is her Lord and Savior, not you. Remark, don't put your dirty clothes on her, bastard. Tilde. You can join my Patreon for $3. Around 70 advanced chapter in my Patreon. I posted some exclusive NFSW on each R18 chapter for you to enjoy. Support me through my Patreon. It would be a big help. Support me. Patreon.com/blackbolt517. Next chapter. Overlord, the multiverse, chapter 101, chapter 101, Shaltier Avatar. As I made my way back home after dropping Asia off at the church, my mind buzzed with thoughts of the unexpected turn of events. According to canon, it was supposed to be Rainray who took Asia's sacred gear. Yet, here we were, walking hand in hand, with Rainray safely tucked away in Nazareth. Talk about a plot twist. The absence of Rainray left a void in the antagonist role, and I couldn't help but wonder who would step up to fill her shoes. Would it be a random demon, a fallen angel seeking redemption, or perhaps even a human driven by vengeance? The possibilities seemed endless, each scenario posing its own set of challenges and dangers. As I pondered over the potential candidates, two names stood out in my mind, Mittel and Kulavarna. Mittel, with her cunning and deceptive nature, could easily slip into the role of the antagonist, while Kulavarna's mysterious past and enigmatic demeanor made her a formidable contender as well. But regardless of who would ultimately take on the mantle of antagonist, one thing was certain, trouble was brewing on the horizon, and I needed to be prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. One individual who was sure to receive a personal visit from both Neuronist and Demiurge was Fried Selzen. I couldn't help but smirk at the thought of Fried facing a personal meeting with both Neuronist and Demiurge. Demiurge, that mastermind of diabolical schemes, had made it abundantly clear that he required subjects for his experiments in the pursuit of perfecting sacred gear creation. And who better to offer up as a willing participant in Demiurge's twisted experiments than the detestable Fried Selzen? Why the intense loathing for Fried, you might wonder. Oh, the reasons are as numerous as the stars in the night sky. Fried was nothing more than a pathetic excuse for a human being, a walking embodiment of everything reprehensible in this world. He used insincerity and arrogance in equal measure, a toxic concoction that left a sour taste in the mouths of all who encountered him. But alas, my personal distaste for Fried aside, there was a practical aspect to his impending meeting with Demiurge. As the master of Nazareth, it fell upon me to provide essential goods for Demiurge's experiments, and Fried Selzen fit the bill perfectly. After all, what better use for a worthless waste of space than to serve as a lab rat for Demiurge's twisted machinations? Leaving all that aside, I arrived at my apartment. I opened the door only to find nobody was there. The usual presence of Yuri, faithfully waiting by the door to greet me, was conspicuously absent. Instead, I sensed another presence lurking behind me, a familiar voice breaking the silence. Welcome back, Alex-sama, Shaltier's voice rang out, her tone dripping with a mixture of playfulness and mischief. As I turned to face Shaltier, my eyes widened in surprise at the sight before me. There she stood, clad in nothing but her underwear and bra, a mischievous glint in her crimson eyes. My initial shock quickly gave way to amusement as Shaltier's playful demeanor took center stage. With a suggestive tilt of her head and a seductive smile, she uttered the magic words that sent a shiver down my spine. Would you like to have dinner? Would you like to have a bath? Or perhaps, would you have me? Pererencino, you son of a bitch. Why do you have to make her flat if you plan to make her say that? I would have you. I don't finish my sentences quickly. Remember my promise. Give my dick some well-deserved rest. I don't hear you, master. NYA tilde. Shaltier purred as she said that. Greater hardening. Crack. I can practically hear the imaginary sound of my determination breaking. You know it. Fuck the promise and legends did say that promises are meant to be broken. You made a big mistake, Shaltier. You turned me on. And you are going to pay for that. I said, respect her.